So with your permission, I shall start the program.
Please start.
Good morning, everyone. Respected Honorable Director General, India Drugs Control Officers Confederation, Shri Uday Bhaskarji, and today's guest speaker, Dr. Smartaji, and all the family members of All India Drugs Control Officers Confederation, senior and junior regulators, and friends from the industry and academia. Very good morning, everyone, and I welcome you all on behalf of All India Drugs Control Officers Confederation Training Academy. I'm so glad to meet all our friends almost a couple of months' time. Indeed, we were forced to take a break for our webinar series as COVID hit our doorsteps and we reeled under the tremendous pressure of this pandemic. At a time when we are trying to acclimatize with this new lifestyle as pandemic demands from us, like work from home, virtual meetings, e-schools and e-classes and telehealth, there comes an uninvited guest of COVID second wave, which has made all our lives upside down and shed all our routine activities. Even during these turbulent times, we appreciate that all the drug regulators stood up for the society and they're working relentlessly almost 24/7 to make sure the availability of the essential health services to the needy on one side and catch holding the unscrupulous elements on the other side. Even during this battle, some of our colleagues have succumbed to COVID, and many of us have lost the near and dear ones in the family and friends. So before we start today's webinar, I call upon everybody to observe 2 minutes silence to honor the deceased officers and their family members. Thank you. So, dear friends, it is high time for all of us to gain the strength and courage to face this battle. And it is the time to focus on our emotional well-being, to balance the personal and professional life, and to learn the ways and means to manage the stress for leading a peaceful life. So we are excited to rebound our activities, the Training Academy activities, with such a timely program on managing stress. And we are honored to have Dr. Smarta, founder and chairman and managing director of Interlink Marketing Consultancy Private Limited. So I thank everyone for taking time to join us and I appreciate it. So before we start the webinar, I would like to welcome our Honorary Director General, Mr. Uday Bhaskar, for the opening remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Lakshmi, and good morning, Dr. Smarta, and my colleagues and my friends from the regulatory agencies as well as from the other facets of the industry. It's a tough time, and I thought I can share some of our experiences in the journey of All India Drugs Control Officers Confederation from the past 25 years. So, unfortunately, the government never tried to recognize the role of regulators as an important link in the healthcare system. Actually, that has made us to form All India Drugs Control Officers Confederation. I'm closely observing the government policies from the past 32 years. Without any representation, the government has never tried to strengthen the regulatory agencies, and we were successful in strengthening the regulatory agencies. But still, the government has never realized that we are very important in the healthcare system. Particularly from the past 1.5 years, we know how much stress is on regulators, and they are working 24/7. They are doing the job of clerical work to issuing licenses and issuing licenses to the vaccines and approving emergency drugs left and right. So we are working a lot. So if you go back to our representation to the Honorable Health Minister on 11/1/2021, requesting them to recognize the regulators as a frontline warriors, and we asked them to include the list in the inoculation. But unfortunately, government always deaf, and they are not ready to do that. When the people are working and they always see Drugs Control Administration and the regulators are not a key person in the healthcare system. But whenever there is an issue or whenever there is a problem, they very conveniently moved away from the issue, and they will fix the responsibility on the regulators. That's what happening throughout the country. So if in India, if you see, we are not having more than 3,000 regulators. Despite that, our contribution, particularly in COVID-19 wave 1 and 2, so our regulators have done tremendous job. But I am unable to understand. Take for example the West Bengal. The health secretary is an IAS man. He's more interested to be a drug controller without knowing the definition of the drug. There are very recently also in Telangana, we have circulated to all our affiliated associations as well as the AIDCOC group. They were forced to come out of the circle, and they expressed their anguish and unhappiness about the kind of policies the government has adopted. And they suspended one of the officers. Earlier also, this kind of a situation is not at all good for the country as well as for the regulatory mechanism. The people who are at the helm of affairs responsible for the deaths of lakhs of people in the country they're not being punished. But for simple reasons, everybody is jumping and punishing and suspending and doing so much against to the regulators. This is what we are observing from the past 31, 32 years. So we need to raise the voice. At this point of time, I appreciate the stand of Telangana Drug Inspectors Association, fighting against the injustices being done to the regulators. That should be a driving force to all the regulators. The situation more or less the same in all the states. I know that Karnataka, they started it. They work 24/7. Most of the state regulators or the central regulators, they are doing their job, which are not being connected. They're counting the oxygen cylinders. They are going to the COVID wards. So I don't know. The government has recognized so many people and the politicians, and they are giving vaccines. And there is a big propaganda. So, but why not the regulators? When they have already inoculated 17 crore population in this country, but they are not gracious enough to come forward to consider the request of the regulators. So, but any small issue is there, everybody is ready to criticize the regulators, and they're demoralizing the people. We have state regulators, their family members are infected, and we lost people and we lost their dear ones. So I don't know, this kind of an attitude of the government, the All India Drugs Control Officers Confederation is strongly condemning. And this is the need of the hour. We should all together, and we should fight against this kind of an injustice continuously is being done to the regulators. So the objective of starting a training academy is to strengthen the All India Drugs Control Officers Confederation, as well as to provide the updated and information and update the knowledge of the regulators. This is the objective. But you can give an example to an unsung heroes or regulators. We know how CDSU is clearing the files and clearing the new drug applications and emergency uses. You know, when there are so many issues are happening and nobody is taking responsibility, and they always like this. It pains me, and so being closely observing, and we are all very, represented many a time. Even for the strengthening of the regulatory mechanism, also they will expect the All India Drugs Control Officers Confederation, or some the courts or somebody has to intervene. Under this kind of an unconducive environment, our heroes, at least I'll call them as our heroes, the government may not consider to call them as a warriors or whatever it may be. So with this, I think this is the time. This is the time we should all work together, and the policies of the government, particularly in the distribution of this black fungus drug and the remdesivir, what kind of an efforts we have made, and we are simply made as an accountants. And if anything happens, the people who are deciding the policy are not being punished, but the instruments and the people who are obliging the directions are being punished. It's nowhere it will happen. Nowhere in the world it happens. The person who has taken this policy decision has to punish himself. But unfortunately, it won't happen in our country. Anyhow, with this, Smarta, Dr. Smarta is our good friend, and we started our journey with him 20 years back when he started that management skills, and everybody is happy with the training. And we are very ambitious to start our training academy, and, but unfortunately, due to this COVID-19, we were not able to do any physical training programs. But in the days to come, certainly we need your support, Dr. Smartaji. Like you are always with us, and we are very much thankful to you. I think most of the officers are very much interested to listen to Dr. Smarta. There is a stress in the sense, managing stress, mental stress as well as the physical stress. So I think he's the right man to say that people like me may not be having a physical stress, but mentally I'm disturbed with the policies of this government. So that stress is more dangerous, and the stress is more dangerous than this COVID. That's what I feel. So I think your talk is going to be very good, and it certainly it will enhance the morale of our colleagues. And I would like to say that regulators, they not only develop their knowledge and skills, they should also consolidate their strengths and the fight against the system. They should not be a mere spectators. So with this, I would like to conclude my opening remarks. Thank you, Lakshmi, and for giving me an opportunity, and I hope there will not be any break of continuity in the days to come. I know that you also suffered with the COVID-19 like any other officers. So we'll continue to have this kind of sessions. And All India Drugs Control Officers Confederation is in the front line to support our regulators throughout the country, and we are always there for them, and we need your support to take it forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks for the encouraging words, and as called upon by our beloved honorary DG, let's all salute all the unsung heroes of the drug control department, both at the state and central level. And it is the time for all of us to stand together and to fight for the better cause of the organization. And with that, I'll welcome our guest speaker, Dr. Smarta, a thought leader of the pharmaceutical and nutraceutical industry, having more than 3 decades of experience. He is helping all the interlinked clients with a focus on converting science into business. And he is also on the panel of nutraceutical mission of CSIR, and he is a member of ITF and Vice President of HADSA, a dietary supplement body in India. So more than as a consultant, we could see him as an author, as a teacher, as a guide and mentor, not only for the pharmaceutical graduates or pharmaceutical professions, but also to the regulators, which we have been associating on behalf of AIDCOC. And in his career, he has almost trained more than 15,000 pharmaceutical executives, and many of the management students of IIM and the regulators and other senior officials of the government bodies have got trained by him. And we are fortunate to have Dr. Smarta with us for today's program. With that brief note, I welcome you, Dr. Smarta.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Lakshmi. Thank you, Uday Bhaskarji. I think I am really happy and lucky to be with you again, because we have started our journey, as you rightly said, 20 years before. And I'm also proud of all drugs controllers, because I think they have done immense work during this pandemic. Just to give you an information, in Maharashtra government, we are printing a book or publishing a book where drugs controllers and other people, how they have contributed. And fortunately for me, I have written that chapter where how drugs controllers have taken different kind of actions during this pandemic, and how they will be useful, and they will be really doing a lot of work in the society. So I think that chapter I have already contributed. So I just wanted to tell you that, yes, I think as it is a state subject, perhaps we'll have to work on state government only to really see that how do they perceive us, how do they really look at us, and how do they really recognize us. I think that's what I would like to say in the beginning. But I'm so happy and so overwhelming that I'm with you again after many years. And now today's subject is slightly different subject. I'm not a psychologist, nor I'm a philosopher. I'm just a kind of, practitioner of life and management. And these are the two things which I carry with me. So I think as a result of that, whatever is happening is happening. Now, if you look at my own career, I would say, although Dr. Lakshmi has 3 decades said, I am in pharmaceutical industry for 54 years. I started with Park Davis in 67. You can imagine that. And now the things are happening the way they are happening. So last 36 years, we have been in consultancy, Interlink. But what I'm trying to say is this, very simple, that I started with pharma, then Nutra joined me, then Foods joined me, then Ayush joined me, CSIR joined me, ITF, Intellectual Thought Forum of India, and now I suggest for Niti Ayogs. So I think what's happening is that it's a stream of life. Life is a stream, then we need to really take it up as it comes. So did I plan for it? Answer is no, sir. What did I do? I think more important issue is that what did I do? And all that what I'm going to explain you today is not the kind of some gyan or some new knowledge. All of you are so well-versed, so accomplished people around me. So I think you must have done a lot of good things, and also very, very bigger thing than our life in your own life. So I think I must really take cognizance of your own experience, your own processes. However, what's really happened during last, I would say, 1.5 years or one year and maybe 15, let's say 3 months, we were really agree earlier, perhaps, because I would always call it, I never used to call earlier when I was in my service. I used to feel profession is bigger than the life. But slowly I understood I'm wrong. Life is bigger than a profession. In a life, I can have 3 professions, 5 professions, 4 professions. So I think I must really orient myself, and I did that. Perhaps that will be useful to you. How life is bigger than the profession. Now, if life is bigger than the profession, then how do I look at the life? How do I treat life? I'm treating my profession very well. How do I treat my life? Earlier, before pandemic, perhaps I was segregating my life professional and personal. And I've tried to create a balance between personal and professional. Is it possible today? Answer is no. It is working from home, working from anywhere. We call it WFH, WFA. So these areas are mixing up the things. You are no longer having these 2 compartments and having a free time for yourself, or you can think about yourself. Today is a situation we are working 24/7. Earlier, we were working 12 hours, 15 hours, 16 hours, at least 8 hours we are with you. So now this is what is a way it is happening today. Now we need to find out how I will really respond to it. Do I react to it? I will be definitely stressed. Do I respond to it? Yes, perhaps it will reduce my stress. But however, I think let's look at what is that it is happening within us. Because all this is happening because of mixing up my life with my profession. Mixing up my family with, and the priorities of family with my profession. And the kind of different instructions are coming. You can imagine chartered accountants today in India. Every day there is a new let's say, kind of inserts. They're giving new information, new forms. Now, if you look at it, this year's, let's say, balance sheet form is slightly altogether different than what earlier years was. So every day we are changing, and rightly so. The changes are happening so fast that these changes have been affecting us, and we are not getting that kind of time to really respond to them. So I think it's also part of the time, part of the things which are happening in your life around us. And this second wave and first wave has a very different way. First wave, we were not doing what it is. So I think we had a different kind of response to first wave. Second wave, we started understanding and also looking at the kind of experiences we have in second wave, that our loved ones, our old friends, other people are dying. And that has affected us further in terms of our emotional well-being. I think all these things putting into consideration. Now, what is really likely to happen is that, what do I do? How do I really deal with this situation? How do I deal with my life? So here I would like to really start with my presentation, and would like to really make it more responsive. I will ask you those questions, because I starting with questions, I do not have the answers, because we need to gather the answers through all of us. So chat box is there, so you can really respond to me in chat box so that it becomes a conversational, as if we are in the classroom. All of you are having chat box, so you can keep on asking and keep on responding to me. So from that point of view, you can work on in such a way that we really try to build this entire session together. Right? Let me start my presentation. Right. So I think is my screen seen to see by all of us? Yeah. Yes. So I think I think Dr. Lakshmi has already introduced me, so I don't have to really say about myself. But what we are really trying to see is managing the stress. Now, my first question out of these 9 questions is, what is the stress? Now, it's very difficult to define stress. Many dictionary meanings are available. Books have given a number of ways to look at it, and somewhere you find that it's still not understood. It is like, what is my dharma? If you say dharma is dharayati tu dharma, that means whatever you dharan, you do it, that is your dharma. So I think what we need to do is that this particular concepts which are there, how do I really redefine my stress concept to myself? Now, what we will do, we will see another 8 questions and come back on question number 1 and define, really speaking, for ourselves. Second is it alone? I think I will give you a simile of fear. Fear is never alone. Fear is always of something. Fear of darkness, fear of failure, fear of success. So always these words, which are really complex and conceptual words, like stress. Fear is also the same thing. So fear of what? And when you identify fear of what, you try to really define yourself, okay, how do I deal with it? What do I do with it? So stress is also another word. Stress of what? Stress today, those who have jobs, they have a stress. Those who do not have jobs, they have a stress. So where is the stress? So if I look at both the areas, those who have a lot of work, they have a stress. They have no work, they have a stress. If you're alone, you have a stress. If you are with family, full of family, you have a stress. So I think, how do you really define this stress? So is it alone? Possibly no, it is not alone. It is like fear. It's a fear of. So we need to define ourselves. What's a fear of? Is it fear of a lot of things, A, B, C, D? So let's look at what's a fear. One is, it's a feeling. Is it a feeling? Or is I only feel it? It's not there, but I feel it. So is it so? If it is only feeling, then in that case, how do I deal with it? Because feelings cannot be dealt with another feelings. If you are depressed, and I am also depressed with you, I don't think it's going to be possible for me. But wherever you are depressed, what is the most important thing is to activate you and put you in action. So I think putting you in action is my way to really deal with, let's say, that kind of attitude. So I would look at this. Is it a feeling and feeling alone? If not, then what is it? Is it restlessness from within, tension, or anxiety? Now, tension, all of us know that it is originated from within. It's not from outside. But anxiety is originated from outside. Somebody outside in the hospital is really ailing and at the deathbed. So you have an anxiety of that person. So it's outside in process, in anxiety. In terms of tension, is within you is building up. So, and restlessness is a manifestation of that. You are restless. You can't really concentrate on anything. What is happening to you? So I think, is it that the stress is? Or if whatever you want does not happen. You want this to happen, does not happen. You want that to happen, does not happen. And in a given time again. The time is a precious thing. Somebody is giving you time, you have to complete it this time, this task in time. So do you feel that is stress? If you feel that is stress, the dealing with it is slightly different. Can you not manage a situation? And if you cannot manage a situation, do you feel stressed? I've seen many people who could not cross one particular road because of the traffic for 7 minutes, and they have to reach within 5 minutes to their office. They get stressed at this end of the, let's say, road. So what is it that the stress is? Is it system issue or is it emotional issue? This is very important to really work on. If it's a system issue, is my own system, my own body system? Is it an emotional issue? Is the emotions are stirring me? Emotions are telling me. Basically what happens is that many times the decisions we take are very different here. If it is systems issue, we take different decisions. Emotional issue, we take different decisions. This is a law of A multiplied by B is equal to C. And this law is very famous and all of us behave this way. A is any action in life. C is a consequence. So A is an action. Out of SSC, probably 60% people pass, 40% people fail. But next day morning, you get one person committing suicide. Action of that one boy is suicide. Action of the other boy, he's get determined. He say, okay, I failed this year. Next year, I will do something. Third reaction is that, okay, he's happy. He said, why are you happy? He said, I'm telling my dad not to spend money on me. He's spending, all right. I'm going to fail. So issue is very simple. A and the C are directly related. A is action and C is a consequence. And as a result of that, what happens is that B is very important. And that B you understand, you will understand system and emotions. If I polish my shoes and come on the road in Mumbai, I try to give a hand to, let's say, taxi comes, he stops for me, suddenly somebody comes in, topples over my shoes and gets into taxi and taxi or a taxi. I get angry. And this anger, I see 2-3 taxis went off. They were empty. Then my reactions is that, look, whenever I polish my shoes, this happens. I am not going to polish my shoes at all. Is that the reaction? Or we say, okay, I'm so angry that I don't see I lose the different kind of opportunities. So what is important is the B is a belief. A multiplied by B is equal to C. So what kind of beliefs you have, and through your systems, how they have been generated within you, how emotional beliefs are there, because we have a lot of beliefs and the values which we have gathered right from our childhood. And our childhood is a base on all these aspects of it. So somebody likes harmony right from the beginning. Somebody likes always a kind of talk and talk and talk. What is there? Where are we? We are perhaps building up from harmony, peace. Now that is where our platform in the beginning. Now, isn't that getting, let's say, hampered or disturbed? So I think we need to look at this part. Is it a stress there? Can you isolate yourself from the stress? It's a good job. If you can isolate, it's a Upanishad thought. You will see yourself. You are the seer. You see. So situation is different from you. You are good. Situation is not good. So it is not that you are bad. No, not at all. Situation is bad. You are good still. So I think this is where we need to look at two aspects of our life. and also of our profession. Many things, constraints I call it, because I have a 5C model. Sometimes I can come back to you and provide you the 5C model, how the role happens in our life, because nobody tells us what is our role. Everybody gives us our jobs. So in that, one constraint, one C is very simple, is a constraint. In everybody's life, whether it's a prime minister's life or anybody's life, there are two constraints. One is a controllable and second is non-controllable. Believe me, all of us have a tendency to look at non-controllables. So if you follow the non-controllables and really start really controlling non-controllables, you definitely have a demotivation. There's no way. So please focus on controllables. Controllables are there. So in the beginning, I used to ask the question to myself, is this issue controllable or non-controllable? If not controllable, I have a different reaction or response. If it is controllable, I have action. So there is a response to non-controllable, there's action to the controllable. So I think that will also look at the systems and emotions and also your self-isolation from the stress or from the can. Is stress there at all or do we only imagine? No, this is also important aspect to really look at it. Am I overwhelmed? I have become emotionally hurt? I have become emotionally overloaded? Or I don't like certain things because I have certain self-concept myself. I am as I am. Now, somebody is telling me to do so many things which are not mine. I don't feel like doing it. So sometimes when you don't feel like doing it, then is it the imagination that I am stressed or can I go through it? If I can't go through, then what do I do? I think this is what we need to do even in managing stress. So let's look at these all aspects and say, anything specifically you would like to say as my colleagues, all of you, if you want to say something on this, what is a stress according to you? So if take at that part and we come back on first question of what is stress, let's define it together. Anybody would like to really start? Anybody chat box would like to, Lakshmi? Yeah. Did you get any answer from anybody?
Messages in the chat box. So J. Jyoti Rai's message is that stress is a relative matter.
Yes.
Something disturbs the mental condition between the personal and professional life.
Right. Anybody else?
And another message is that it may interlink with our emotions.
Yes. Very true.
And for our stress, sometimes other people are responsible.
Right.
So better judge and then stay away from them.
Right. That's what you are isolating yourself. Yeah. Stay away from it. Very good. Yeah.
And a message from Dr. B.R. Jagshetty ji, the senior retired drug controller of Karnataka.
Yeah.
Stress is a self-made one.
Okay. Right.
And another message is that it is a status between the expectation and actual happening.
State of expectations and actual happening. Very good. Very good. Right.
These are the few of thoughts of our.
Yeah. True. See, I think before really getting into the stress and definition of stress, which is really very, very simple. However, I think in Upanishad, we have given subconsciousness stages. And there are few stages of consciousness. So each one of us, if we are really conscious, and the consciousness of what is around us. What is around us is that lives and also the kind of forms. Are we conscious about the lives and matters around us? That means whatever is happening around us, are we conscious of this? First is a consciousness of around us. Second is a consciousness of what we take within us, that is our food, air, whatever is the environment, and how do you really respond to that? Third is a consciousness of your body. How do you respond to body? Consciousness of all 10 sensory organs or sensory perceptions. 5 are physical, 5 are perceptible. Now, this is 5 perceptible senses are more crucial for this kind of stress and other things. And how do you deal with it? And consciousness of a mind. And that's what even Upanishad says, consciousness of mind and the sensory perceptible senses are very important for us to really define this kind of stress. This stress is defined as pressure exceeds your perceived ability to deal with it or cope with it. Can you beat it? It's a pressure which comes to you unknowingly. It's a destined. Your pressure is destined. Any situation is destined. which family you have taken birth is this time. There's no way. You have to deal with it. So in other words, we have to cope with it. So similarly, the situation is not in your hands. So situation, any pressure exceeds your perceived ability, not your ability. You have enough abilities and you have proven it for so many years. So perceived ability to cope with. So once we really deal with this perceived ability, when we deal with this perceived, let's say our sensory organs, and we understand this is where I would like to really make mistakes. Simple thing, I am always a giver. So I say, okay, anybody calls me, I say yes. But then I say yes. Do I really respond to it so quickly that even having so many other appointments, I say yes to it? Or just say yes to it because that's my habit? No, I need to check that. If it's my habit, then do I really take some time? I can say, all right, can I call you afternoon? And they do that. Possibly you will have a response differently. So what I'm trying to say is that perceived your own perceptions and also ability, they are two different things. Believe me, I believe in all of you that you have all the abilities, what you want to really deal with this stress. Stress is just a kind of situation which has been created in such a way that it has created a pressure in you. Pressures are always better. We all know that optimum pressure, whether it's a blood pressure or anything, is very important. Without that, we can't really work. So obviously, optimum pressure, optimum stress is always there. But when it goes to be some absolutely exceeds where we feel I have perceived ability or inability to do it, I think that's where we start really working and examining ourselves. So first important aspect is in managing stress is managing self. How do I manage self? Do I respond to this particular situation which is coming from outside? Because this is outside situation. My perceived, let's say, sensory organs have perceived them. And now I'm becoming, whether emotional or practical, whatever we call it, or I can't say no to it. So I think all these things are needed to do. So how do I really manage myself? First is a self-organization. I have to organize what is a purpose. Very few people find out purpose of life, but almost all have found out purpose in their own profession. So I think there are many things which you can do and you have been doing it. And I'm sure that this particular gives a particular purpose or action towards purpose gives you high degree of satisfaction. That's very important. Prioritization and preparation. I think I don't have to tell you that. You are all good at that. Self-values. There's always a value conflict. When such things happen, when the stress happens, there's a value conflict. Am I supposed to do that? Should I supposed to do that? I have to follow these orders or not? So there is a policy and practices, there's a conflict. These conflicts have to be resolved. If these conflicts happen, then in that case, it becomes difficult for you to really look at yourself in a right perspective, look at others also right perspective. Third is important aspect, I think I always tell to the students, not to the elite audience like yours, but we have this kind of objectives or goals for ourselves. Do I have personal goal myself? In this year, many pandemic, let's say people I see, they have put on weight. You are not, because you are always in the place of in the battlefield to really work on it. But many people have physically, have you worked out objectives for yourself? Emotional objectives. What are your emotional objectives? Are you really very much keen to really follow the kind of many people have while seeing the movies? They shed tears. So is that emotional burst out to them, or they imagine what happens? So what is the emotional objective? Spiritual objective, very important, because all of us know health is the response or balance of all the three aspects, that is mind, body, and soul. Intellectual, in terms of intellectual, your course of action, what you would like to do. Professional, in this profession, what you are, where you are, what you want to do in these 2 years or 3 years. Financial, social, and also personal. Personal is your family. So I think these are the different goals we have. We might not have thought about it, but these goals are, maybe for me, you gave me 1 hour in a year. I hope you will promise me that 1 hour in a year, maybe on your birthday, maybe on your wedding anniversary, maybe wherever it is, where you find time, give 1 hour to yourself for me in a year, and put down, like a good management student, what is my physical objective in 3 months or 4 months? What's my personal objective? I need to really deposit so much, so and so for my children, or I do this, whatever it is. I think it's up to you, because you are different from everybody else and you are independent and you are unique. So from that point of view, self goals are there. Most important is self-discipline. All of us have. I don't have to really talk to you about that, but self-discipline, self-expression. This is where I would say many times people and all of us, at least those who are in this particular profession, can you say no? And if you cannot say no, what do you do? So I think this is where expression, and that's where you'll find open communication and assertiveness skills are very important. Assertiveness skills is not giving you in terms of really asking somebody to do it loudly, but assert yourself. Because those who are asserting, they will get a win-win situation in life. Those who come down, buckle down, they get a win-lose situation, or otherwise lose-win situation. So I think win-win situation is important. And last is self-health and joy. All of you are knowing, but most important issue is that be joyful, or joy is important than it. Now, considering this, I will say all the things require time. Now, all of you can do a little exercise. For me, all of you may be nearing your retiring age, or all of you may be still have retired and already there, or still there is a time for you. So just put down for me, at what age you want to retire, just number, maybe 80, 90, 60, 50. Retire means not from your job alone, from your life. So you say, all right, I want to retire at 80, I want to retire at 70, or whatever I will do, this is a different issue. So just put down the number on a piece of paper or on mobile, minus your existing age. Put down the age at which you would like to retire, minus your existing age. Once you do this calculation, you will get some number below. So suppose 80, 40, 80, 60, whatever is it, 20, like that. Now multiply that remainder by 300. Just multiply that by 300. And you will get some number there. Write down your age at which you want to retire, minus your existing age. Multiply whatever remainder comes in by 300. And you will get final number for yourself. Have you done this exercise? If you say yes, you can just give me the number which is remaining. It may be 10,000, it may be 5,000, it may be 2,000, whatever may be number, just send it to me on the chat. At what age you want to retire, minus your existing age, whatever remainder remains, multiply this by 300. Dr. Lakshmi, any number for
Yes.
me?
There are many responses for this exercise.
Yes.
19,500.
Yes.
2,000.
Right.
5,100.
Right.
2,400.
Right.
3,900.
Right.
4,500.
Right.
1,800.
Yes.
And 8,100.
Very good. Very good. Now,
7,000.
my dear colleagues, I think this is the time which you have left for yourself to do everything, whatever life's drama you want to play. These are the number of days you have. Please don't fritter away in stress or any imagination. The time which is available with us, I may have 2,000 days, you may have 3,000 days, somebody has 8,000 days, somebody has 10,000 days. But these are the days. We can't really put the time before and after. This is the time. And this time is available as long as we are healthy and joyful. Please understand. That's the last part of it. So for this time, if we have a prioritization, you have an organization. For this time, I have certain goals for myself. For this time, I value my values. For this time, I have a self-discipline in myself. For this time, I self-express. There's nothing wrong in expressing. It may happen, it may not happen, but expression is important. Once or twice or 3 times you express yourself, people understand you are not happy with my work. Or I will understand, you can be a subordinate. I'll say, you are not, if you don't express to me, I will never be able to know. I'll say, sir, I'm doing my best. Similarly, the health. So I think this is what I would like to tell you, and how important is the time. So next issue is a time management. So managing time is a most crucial issue in our life. So I'm showing you, Dr. Lakshmi will show you a small video of Mr. Rory Bhadan, who, what he says, please take notes. Let's discuss it after this small video I think it's very important to plan and look at this video, which is very, very different, which will give you a different perception of time management. Right? Okay. Please go ahead. Yes, Dr. Lakshmi. Yeah.
Emotionally is that we struggle with guilt and we struggle with wanting to say no, but really feeling like we have to say yes. And so we go through life trying to never say no. And in one of the interviews I conducted with the multiplier, they said something that changed my life. They said, Rory, it's futile to go through life trying to never say no. What you have to realize is that you are always saying no to something. Because anytime you say yes to one thing, you are simultaneously saying no to an infinite number of others. If you can't eliminate the task, the next question is, can I automate the task? Anything that I create a process for today saves me.
No, sorry, Lakshmi, you started very late. Hello.
Like
Start from beginning.
Oh.
Lakshmi, start from beginning.
Yeah, it's an 18-minute video. So you want me
Yeah,
to play the video?
Yeah.
All right.
Ironic that the first speaker would be the author of the book, Procrastinate on Purpose. How is it that we have more tips and tricks, tools and technology, calendars and checklists than ever before, and yet we still always seem to be behind? How is it that we work longer hours? We're moving faster than we've ever moved in history, and yet we never seem to be caught up? How is it that we know more about time management today, and yet stress is at an all-time high? The reason why is because everything you know about time management is wrong. I first started to realize this a couple of years ago. It was early on a Saturday morning. I was at my business partner's house and I was picking him up for a very important international leader planning retreat. And he has this 2-year-old baby girl named Haven. And Haven is the sweetest little thing you can imagine. She has curly brown hair and these sweet, soft brown eyes. And we live in Nashville, so she has a little Southern accent that's developing. And as I'm picking up Dustin and we're about to leave, Haven comes sprinting down the hallway. And she leaps and she latches on to Dustin's leg. And she says, Daddy, where are you going? And he looks down at her and he says, oh, I'm sorry, baby Haven. Daddy actually has to go to work today. And she looks up at him and her eyes well up with tears. And she says, no, Daddy, please, no work today. No work, Daddy. And in that moment, I realized 2 things. The first is that I myself am not ready to have kids just yet. The second is that even though everything that you've ever heard about time management is all logical, tips and tricks, tools and technology, calendars and checklists, it's apps, it's all logic. What I realized in that moment from a 2-year-old is that today time management is no longer just logical. Today, time management is emotional. And how our feelings of guilt and fear and worry and anxiety and frustration, those things dictate how we choose to spend our time as much as anything that's in our calendar or on our to-do list. In fact, there is no such thing as time management. You can't manage time. Time continues on whether we like it or not. So there is no such thing as time management. Really, there is only self-management. Well, that was the first big realization that I had. In order for you to understand the second, I want to take you on a quick history of time management theory. And that really began in the late 50s and 60s. And it came during the Industrial Revolution. And early time management thought was all about, it was one-dimensional. And it was all based on efficiency. And the idea with efficiency was that if we could develop tools and technology to help us do things faster, then theoretically that would give us more time. Well, there's nothing wrong with efficiency. All things being equal, efficiency is better. And yet there is an unfortunate limitation to efficiency as a strategy for time management. And it's evidenced very well by the fact that we all carry around miniature computers in our pockets, and yet somehow we're still never caught up. Well, in the late 80s, Era 2 time management thinking emerged. I feel like it was pretty much single-handedly ushered in by the late, great Dr. Stephen Covey. And Dr. Covey introduced what we are referring to as two-dimensional thinking. He gave us something called the time management matrix, where the x-axis was urgency and the y-axis was importance. And the beauty about this was that it gave us a system for scoring our tasks. And then based on how they scored in these two areas, we could prioritize tasks one in front of the other. Prioritizing is all about focusing first on what matters most. And for the last 20 years, this has really been the pervasive mode of thinking as it relates to time management theory. And it's not that there's anything wrong with prioritizing. In fact, prioritizing is as valuable a skill today as it ever has been in history. And yet, even though we throw that word around like it's the end all be all to time management theory, right? We say, get your priorities in order, or it's just, you don't have the right priorities. Well, unfortunately, maybe that's not really the case. Because there is a massive limitation to prioritizing that nobody ever talks about, and that is this. There's nothing about prioritizing that creates more time. All prioritizing does is take item number 7 on your to-do list and it bumps it up to number 1, which is valuable in and of itself, but it doesn't do anything inherently create more time, and it does nothing to help you accomplish the other items on your to-do list. I mean, if you think about efficiency is kind of like running on a hamster wheel. And if you think of prioritizing, it's really about borrowing time from one activity to spend on another. It's kind of like juggling. And that really describes the way that we even talk about time. I'm juggling a lot, or I'm trying to balance a lot. And in that paradigm, there's only 2 strategies. One is to do things faster or to do more things. And that is what the world kind of feels like, right? How does it feel to know that really all we are is a bunch of juggling hamsters sprinting towards an inevitable crash landing? You cannot solve today's time management problems with yesterday's time management thinking. What we've noticed is the emergence of a new type of thinker, somebody that we refer to as a multiplier. And multipliers use what we call 3-dimensional thinking. While most people only make decisions based on urgency and importance, multipliers are making a third calculation, which is based on significance. And if urgency is how soon does something matter, and importance is how much does it matter, then significance is how long is it going to matter. It's a completely different paradigm. It's adding on to what is there. It's in with the old, but it's also in with the new, because most of us, if you think about the modern day to-do list, which is one of the key strategies or tools that we have, we ask ourselves, when we assemble our to-do list, we say, what's the most important thing I can do today? But that is not how multipliers think. Multipliers instead ask the question, what can I do today that would make tomorrow better? What can I do right now that would make the future better? They're making the significance calculation. See, when I say multiply your time, that might sound a little bit superfluous. It might sound like an over-exaggeration, but it really is not. Now, while it is true that we all have the same amount of time inside of one day, 24 hours, 1,440 minutes, 86,400 seconds, and there's nothing that any of us can do to create more time in one day, but that's exactly the problem. That type of thinking is the problem. What we have to do is break out of that paradigm and instead think about tomorrow. And that brings us to the premise for how you multiply time. The way that you multiply time is simple. You multiply your time by giving yourself the emotional permission to spend time on things today that give you more time tomorrow. That's the significance calculation. You multiply time by giving yourself the emotional permission to spend time on things today that create more time tomorrow. The significance calculation changes everything. The focus funnel is our attempt to create a visual depiction that codifies the thought process that multipliers go through in their head unconsciously when they are evaluating how to spend their time. It's why some people create extraordinary, explosive, exponential results, and other people seem to kind of just create linear traction. And it works like this. If your tasks all come into the top of the funnel, the first question a multiplier asks is, can I eliminate this? Is it even worth doing? It's another example how everything you know about time management is wrong, or at least that it has changed, because most of us use to-do lists, and multipliers realize that next generation time management has much more to do with what you don't do than what you do. Time multipliers realize that perfection is achieved not only when nothing more can be added, but when nothing more can be taken away. It is the permission to ignore, because anything that we say no to today creates more time for us tomorrow. The challenge emotionally is that we struggle with guilt, and we struggle with wanting to say no, but really feeling like we have to say yes. And so we go through life trying to never say no. And in one of the interviews I conducted with the multiplier, they said something that changed my life. They said, Rory, it's futile to go through life trying to never say no. What you have to realize is that you are
Hello. Hello, Dr. Lakshmi. Hello. Hello.
had 2 hours in my day. I would never use it to set up online bill pay. But then it makes sense to invest those 2 hours. And after 4 months' time, I will have broken even on that investment. And every month thereafter, I will get something we call ROTI, return on time invested. Automation is to your time exactly what compounding interest is to your money. Just like compounding interest takes money and it makes money into more money, automation takes time and it makes it into more time. The way that wealthy people think about money is exactly the same way that multipliers think about time, and they give themselves the permission to invest the time and energy to automate the process. If it can't be automated, then the next question is, can it be delegated? Can I teach someone else how to do this? I'm reminded of a time when I was 7 years old, and I'll never forget, I was in the car with my mom, and I hit her with this question. I said, Mom, do I have a dad? And as you might imagine, that was a pretty difficult question for a single mother to navigate with her 7-year-old. And it was the first time that my mom told me her life story. She was pregnant at 17, divorced a couple years later, pregnant again at 22, and then she was divorced from my biological father 6 months after I was born. So there she was, 22 years old, single mom, no high school education. And she explained to me, she said, Rory, I decided at that point that I would never have a man in my life because I haven't had good luck with men. And we may not have a lot, and we may not have a dad, but we're going to have love. And so we went back and forth for a little while, and I said, well, you know, Mom, I love our family. I really do. I love our family, but I think it would be really cool to have a dad. And so she said, well, I'll tell you what, honey, if you want a dad, then why don't you go out and find yourself a good dad? What kind of crap is that? It just so happened that that was my first day at a new Shaolin Kung Fu center, and I had been studying martial arts since I was 5, and so they put me in this all-adult school to be a little more advanced. And there was another gentleman who walked in. It was his first day also, but this guy was much older than me. He had long hair and tattoos all up and down his arm and leather jacket, and he came in on a motorcycle. And this guy was about the scariest dude you can imagine if you're 7 years old, and he gets paired up as my sparring partner. His name was Kevin. He turned out to be pretty nice. Well, we started to advance through the belt levels together, and so Kevin started bringing me home from class every once in a while. Before you know it, Kevin came over on the weekends, and we would practice our forms. And then we caught a movie, and then before long, Mom came with us to the movies, and so it was the 3 of us that were going to movies together. And I'll never forget the first time the 2 of them went to a movie without me. Well, as it turns out, Kevin and I tested for our black belts together on the same day when I was 10 years old. They got married 2 weeks later. A couple years after that, Kevin adopted me, and I changed my last name from Rory McLaughlin to Rory Vaden, and they have been married for 20 years ever since. And the point of that story is that you can delegate anything. But if you ask the average person, you said, are there things you know you could be delegating to somebody else? We would say yes. But then you say, well, why don't you train someone else to do it? And what most of us would say is we say, well, because they just can't do it as well as I can. And that may be true once, maybe twice, but it is only true absent the significance calculation. Because if you think longer term, you realize they'll be able to master the task just like you were. Significance changes everything. It's how you multiply your time. It's giving yourself the permission of imperfect for a little while, because over time they'll be able to figure it out. Now, if you can't eliminate, automate, or delegate a task, that task drops out the bottom of the funnel, and at that point there's only one remaining question, and that question is, should I do this task now? Must it be done now, or can it wait until later? If the task must be done now, then that's what we call concentrate. It's the permission to protect. All right, the permission to protect. It's all about focus and eliminating distractions. And honestly, there's nothing all that exciting or new there. However, if you ask the question, can this wait until later? And you decide that the answer is yes, then that's not eliminate, automate, or delegate. That is what we call procrastinate on purpose. Procrastinate on purpose. Now, you're not going to procrastinate on it forever. You're going to pop that activity back to the top of the funnel, at which point it will enter into a holding pattern where it will cycle through the focus funnel until inevitably one day, eventually, one of the other four strategies will be executed on whatever that task is. And what you find is that if something can continually wait, often what happens is you eventually develop the courage to do what you should have done in the first place, which was eliminate it. Or you discover a system for how to automate it, or someone rises up to the call of leadership. They rise up to the occasion, and it ends up being delegated. Or it ends up becoming something that is significant enough for you to spend your time on. A lot of people say, well, Rory, wait a minute. In the Take the Stairs book, right? In Take the Stairs, you said procrastination was the killer of all success. You said procrastination was the most expensive invisible cost in business today. You said procrastination is the foundation of all mediocrity. And now you're telling us to procrastinate on purpose? And yes, that is what I said, and it's exactly true how I said it. But there's a major distinction to realize, and that is there's a difference in procrastinating. There's a difference in waiting to do something that we know we should be doing that we don't feel like doing, versus waiting to do something because we're deciding that now is not the right time. Waiting to do something that we know we should do but we don't feel like doing, that's procrastination. That's the killer of all success. But waiting to do something because we're deciding intentionally that now is not the right time, that isn't procrastination. That isn't the killer of success. That's a virtue. And it's an art form that the world really needs, which is patience. The patience to put off the insignificant things, like checking email 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You multiply your time by giving yourself the emotional permission to spend time on things today that create more time tomorrow. And regardless of your religious affiliation or your spiritual beliefs, hopefully you'll have an appreciation for the way that Scripture says the world was created. And in Genesis, God has created this perfect world. And it says something amazing, that we're created in his image. And then in Genesis chapter 1, verse 28, he gives the first command to all of humanity. And what is that command? Thou shalt have no other gods before me? No. Is it love thy neighbor as thyself? No. God's first command to all of humanity: be fruitful and multiply. Thank you very much.
I can see that probably few of you have not been able to see the complete, let's say, video. And I will I request Dr. Lakshmi to send it to you, the link. Each one of you can see that. But any questions you have, any thoughts you have for this, please put forward in the chat, because you must have heard it fully, although you must not have seen it fully. That's what I feel. I understand. Yeah. Dr. Lakshmi?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Do you get some chats where we can get some understanding or thoughts of these people?
So I understand that the video has gone in the middle, and I'm so sorry for that.
What is that? Hello?
Yeah, hello. Are you sharing
Hello?
your
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello? Yeah, I'm sharing my screen, but basically I would like to ask those who have watched it finally fully or heard it fully, any reactions or responses from that? If I can really see that the basic essence of the particular video was to really provide a different kind of dimension to the time management. So any thoughts, any process, any feedback to me? Any one of you, please go ahead.
So one message is that procrastination on a purpose is a very good idea.
Yeah.
Can we hear more responses from the audience? Though we understand that video was off in between, but I presume most of you have heard the entire part.
Okay. Anybody else, or we go ahead?
Focus should be on the significance. Is that another response?
Right. So I think I would like to really take a stance from here, because we have less time, and we have another 10 minutes, and I should be able to wind it up. So from that point of view, I would like to say that this particular thought process, which Rory had brought it, he is trying to really convey to us that, look, we always are clubbed with the two dimensions of task and their priority, or important and urgent, and so forth, because the old dimensions of time management are different. Now is the time when we have to look at the significance part of it. How significant it is for me during the time which I have left for me, and how do I really manage myself. So I think these are the two things which are important. So by managing self, or managing self with the time which is available to me, with the kind of thought processes which I have shared with you, we need to really look at it, how to really manage the stress. So managing stress is basically, what we are talking about is two steps are there. First step, one is recognizing stress. Second is understanding stress. Now, by this time, you'll be able to understand the kind of pressure which you get, which exceeds the kind of perceptible ability you have, you can cope with. I think that's where you identify, you recognize is there something which is coming upon me, and understand the stress. Is it emotional? Is it practical? Is it out of, let's say, beyond control, with control, and so and so. So that understand that. What are the different strategies? Avoid, alter, adapt, or accept. There are four issues which we can really look at it while managing it. The first one is avoid. So being prepared to say no, that's what we are trying to say. If nicely we can say no, or delegate, or procrastinate, whatever you want to say, that's what is the avoidance of this, because this time what I am doing now today should not be consumed with something. So there not be stress on me so that I don't concentrate on it. Secondly is that learning to understand what can be achieved out of the totality. If you can achieve part of it, excellent, why not do that? Similarly, take control of your environment, because environment control is as good as you controlling environment or environment controlling you. So how do you do that? Is to isolate, which we already discussed about it. Can you isolate yourself from the stress? If you can do that, then you can avoid the basic first strategy of that. Second is alter. Express your feelings instead of bottling them up. Please try to express them. Maybe today we have wives. If they can listen, or they should listen, or they should not listen, I leave it to you. You have your own family, your own ways, or your close friend. Please express yourself. Even to the person who has given you this task, express yourself. Not negatively, but positively. Be willing to compromise and create a balanced situation, win-win situation. Third is adapt. Reframe the problem, because the more important issue is that the problem which you get, you redefine it, you reframe it, and you will find there's a big picture or a small picture, and you will be able to deal with it. Last is accept. Don't try to control due to uncontrollable. Look for the upside, learn to forgive, and share your feelings. I think most important is that in this entire criteria, what has happened to us, inclusive of me, we have lost the expression of our feelings. We become angry, but don't tell people that I am angry. We become absolutely subdued, but we don't tell people, okay, I'm subdued because of this reaction of yours. We must be communicative to the people concerned. Then they understand us better. Otherwise, they don't understand this. Please understand. If I do not tell my people that I'm angry because of this action of yours, they don't understand. I just bottle up within me, myself, and then I get angry myself. And by my action or reaction, people understand, this is not a time to talk to him. Saab ka mood kharab hai. That's not the case. I think it is better that people understand. So accept and do not really try to low down your own emotions or your own ways. 5 principles. One is pay attention to your thoughts, or it originates at the thought level. Number of philosophers and management philosophers have so said that whatever you think, that happens. So in other words, don't really think, only think, but pay attention to this thinking or thought. Act, respond, do not react. Most of the things happen in the reaction, in the stress is we react. Be true to yourself. That's your values. That's your thought processes which have taken it up. This very simple phrase, but I think all of us must be doing it. Pray. More important is the grace of God. More important is your blessings. You have enough blessings in this entire so many years. So count them blessings, not the problems, not the kind of uncertainties. And this is the most crucial aspect of our old belief, that very simply, if you are within you, because you are part of the universe and universe is part of you, even if you take up one drop of ocean and you analyze it, all the characteristics of ocean are available in the drop. Same with the situation. We are part of the universe, universe is part of us. So whatever is available as resources to universe, they are available. We have to ask for it. That's where the focus is. That's where the blessings come in. That's where the grace comes in. And that's it. That's very crucial for you to have the peace, which is important for every day, and love. I think that's it. Thank you very much. Any questions you have, please feel free to ask me so that I can spend another 5 minutes, and that's it. Please go ahead with the questions.
So we have received a few more responses of the audience for your earlier question on the video part. May I read those?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. In the Indian context, procrastination is a cultural divide.
Yes, sometimes yes, because the time is the most important healer. Always we say, sometimes what we postpone certain things are good for you, but that is to be seen in such a way, in a perspective of significance or non-significance. If it is significant and to be done quickly, you have to really deal that way. If it is significant but not to deal with at this moment and keep quiet, is up to also our cultural heritage. Yeah.
Right. Another expression is that third dimension of the significance is the novelty. Is novel.
No, I couldn't get you.
Third dimension of the significance is novel.
Normal.
Novel.
Novel. Okay. Yes. I think what he's trying to say very simply, all these things we have really learned, but is it significant today, significant for you in this environment? So relevance of the environment, relevance of you is very important. Significance is nothing but relevance. Many times we become old and younger generations say, okay, you're old, daddy. So that brings me back and say, okay, I am not relevant now. For your new generation, I am not relevant. So please be relevant. That's it. That's the significance.
Dr. Smarta, can you please close your share screen option?
Sure. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. And we recognize the presence of our immediate past chairman of the Comexil, Dr. Dinesh Dua. And I take the pleasure of inviting Dr. Dua onto the stage.
He is correct. Mr. Dua is very correct, as rightly said by him. I'm seeing his chat. Yes, Dr. Dua. I think that's correct.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. It's such a pleasure indeed, Uday and Lakshmi. Words cannot express my gratitude for first inviting me here. And then I'm very fortunate to have listened to Dr. Smartha, whom I've interacted with earlier. And he's been a marvelous speaker, and he's proven that today as well. I just want to come in for half a minute, telling you, Dr. Smartha, that stress, as we studied in Indian Institute of Management about 41 years ago,
Yes.
is something which is differentiated between Harvard, Stanford, and let's say our own universities. There's such a cultural divide in understanding stress, managing it. And my one single pointer here, Dr. Smartha, if you kindly agree with me, is that each one of us has an individual recipe for management of stress, right? And yoga, in my considered opinion, is the one which summarizes the entire presentation that you've shown us. So next time around, you get over to us, which you will, knowing Uday and Lakshmi, we would have something to listen about what the Indian Vedas and yogas also state about stress management, which I think is far better than what the Westerners say. So that's point one. Secondly, Uday, as I said in the chat as well as on WhatsApp, you're amazing. You're incredibly amazing, right? Every time I listen to you, whether for the last 5 years and now currently in your new avatar, you're a frank, very candid, very, very truthful to your association. And I'm indeed delighted that you've restarted this training programs. And I promise you that I've always be a part of it, irrespective of whatever part of the world I am, COVID permitting. And Lakshmi, you get better by the time, you get better by the second I show you. And Dr. Smartha, thank you very much. A big gratitude to you. And thank you to each one of the members, dynamic members of AIOCD, who, as Uday rightly and appropriately put it across, are actually the people on the street, the true healthcare workers. And I promise you, Uday and Lakshmi, whichever way I'm now fortunately deeply connected because of the fact that I've been the chairman from Excel along with the rest of the team, Uday, Lakshmi, all put together. We can take it up with any person, any minister, any bureaucrat. The other day, Anup Dhawanji spoke to me. He's retiring. So we can use the good offices of all the bureaucrats to drive home the point of all the inspectors and officers of the AIOCD. So thank you very much indeed. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dua.
A few words.
I think it's very important for you because I also do little bit on fullness of life. That's where you will get yoga and considered aspect. So they're our heritage. Great. So that's correct. Okay.
Thank you.
It's beyond
thank
this.
You. Thank Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Duaji, for your presence and your encouraging.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Pleasure. Thank you, Uday Bhaskarji. Thank you very much.
May I request other audience to post your questions in the chat box, and we are also happy to make you as a panelist if you wanted to have a one-to-one discussion with Dr. Smartha. You may please raise your hands, and we are happy to allow you to talk. I could see hand raised from Mr. Dinesh Kumar Modi, and we have allowed you to speak. You may please go on with your question. Mr. Dinesh Kumar Modi. Any other questions? May kindly please post it in the chat box. There is a question from Dr. Jagshetty ji. Don't you think if one is able to control his all senses, then automatically stress will be controlled?
I think that's what Dr. Dua was trying to say. Yoga is a best practice, or the exercises is a best practice. There are so many exercises. Yoga is one of them. But basically, what is important is that there is a recipe within you. Because if we say that the old concept of our, what we call is union, not the one, not union, unity, but oneness with the nature, oneness with the God, oneness, everything. So obviously that oneness will give you everything. Moment you start really controlling, there's no need to control all, but I think that's what is affecting you is very important. I must say that yes to you, yes.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Tessie Thomas has a question and we have allowed him to speak. Over to Mr. Tessie Thomas. We also promoted Dr. Ramkishan sir as a panelist, and we would love to hear from you, sir.
Can I, madam?
Yes, please.
Sir. Good afternoon, sir. And I would like to thank AIDCOC Academy, particularly our Uday Bhaskar sir and Lakshmi madam, and our Dinesh Duaji. Excellent talk by our Dr. Smartha ji. And the regulators really, because during opening remarks, DG Sab has given the brief background information how regulators are really working hard during this pandemic situation. And really, I am very happy because Dinesh Sab learned 43 years back in IIM, and everyone says through experience, but I go with the DG, our Uday Bhaskar sir, because one thing lastly you told, slide number 29, every day you have to laugh. That is one of the important major factors that I have been learning from Dr. Uday Bhaskar ji in the year 1998, November 27th, when I met in Mumbai. I have been follower of him, and today maybe that could be the reason I always feel happy and joy. The fifth important principle of our stress management, maybe wrong or right, I don't know. This is through experience I'm sharing. And the rest, yes, yoga is one of the good exercise where you can have the management of stress. So that is the reason why I always observe our DG Saab, Uday Bhaskar ji, always, he's so cool. Earlier, no, in the year 1998, he was so dynamic. Slowly, since last 2 decades, if I can see closely, and really I'm following, because earlier I was also so arrogant. Now, because of age and the depletion of all important neurotransmitters, ultimately we are part of universe. So ultimately we have to take care of blessing. So that we have to adapt accordingly. And 4 important A principles: adapt, accept, alter, accept. All these are very important, but practically not possible, Smartha sir. Yeah, all these proteins behaves differently. Per minute, 15.22 million thoughts we are getting in our brain. Maybe left brain or right brain, I don't know. Out of that, just multiply in 1 hour and calculate in 24 hours, 6 hours to 8 hours sleep you remove. How many thoughts we are really utilizing for the betterment of universe, what we call society. So this is one of my question, and as a student, as a regulator, because we always think, but still no, unwanted thoughts always goes. I am discussing with you, seeing our Uday Bhaskar sahab photograph, Lakshmi madam and Dinesh sahab, and I am getting unnecessary feelings and thoughts. It's very, but we talk practically. What are the mechanisms involved?
I hope good feelings.
So, thank you so much. Really, we enjoyed, and I can say 60 to 70% removed automatically on Saturdays, because Sunday we never enjoys with the family. Regulators, according to DCJ sub says we have to work 24/7. So that is our missing link, and all law is applicable to all states except Jammu Kashmir. Now we are part of that. Sorry to comment, but we are all enjoying. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'd just like to react to Ramkishan ji's wonderful speech. You know, I endorse his opinion that Uday Bhaskar can be as wild as anything, but when I speak to him, when friends and family speak to him, he laughs. That's a fact. I endorse that, and he makes me laugh. That's very important.
That's Mr. Dua. In new language, younger language is cool.
Yes, he's cool. And second, if you can spare this presentation with all of us, my recommendation to all the members are, Uday, please bear me out. Give it to your children. Let them study one slide by one slide and spare 5 minutes to discuss with them. your job is over.
Thank you, sir. And we have allowed Mr. Tessie Thomas, and I think you are allowed to speak now. Are you there, Mr. Tessie Thomas?
There's no mic available to him.
We have made you as a panelist, and I guess you are allowed to speak. You can unmute yourself. So, any other questions?
Or suggestions, both. Questions, suggestions, both.
Yeah, questions and suggestions, and your own feelings, because as Ramkishan ji felt, I mean, all the 4 A's are very difficult to follow. But as per Smarter, I think one can easily adopt ways to follow those 4 A's. So it is within us to choose whether to follow that or not to follow that. And I mean, we are really sorry we are running behind the scheduled time. Dr.
Sure.
Smart, I mean, can we take a few more questions, or should we?
No, I leave it to you. Whatever it is,
meeting?
I leave it to you.
All right. Oh, yeah. And the final call for all the audience to pose your questions or to get a chance to speak with the speaker and to share your thoughts with us. Seems there are no specific questions by the audience.
Good. No issue.
Now may I request our honorary DG, Mr. Uday Bhaskar sir, to share his views.
What I can say, Lakshmi, and big thanks to Dr. Smarta, and the most of the things, stress management always depends on the others also. Take, for example, me. I can able to work for 22, 23 hours. But, small conflicts, the things which are taking against the interests of the society or against the policy decisions. It will, even if I do yoga or I sleep or whatever you give, I don't think it's not that easy to manage the stress. Stress depends on individual to individual. So it is not depends on you alone. I'm very much disturbed with the policies of the government as far as this COVID management is concerned. It acts as a stress. Even if I do yoga or if I do whatever remedies you people are suggesting, but the policy is there. We have already lost the people. There is a poor management. So these things, it gives me stress. Stress, physical stress, we can withstand. But mental stress, to make yourself very calm and quiet, that will not give a spark. Actually, it won't allow you to think about the progression and taking you forward. That's why I always got disturbed. I'm telling my younger brother Ramkishan, I'm as wild as when I was as a student leader, and in 1998. Today also I'm very aggressive. I always feel bad.
Yeah.
The kind of letters, the kind of letters I'm writing to the. The maturity in the sense, sometimes feel that Uday Bhaskar is short-tempered, but I always feel that I'm not short-tempered. But I will analyze the things in a very critical way. I don't spare any words, whoever are there. That gives me peace. if something is happening wrong at any level, I'll speak out, and that will relieve me from the stress at least. I never try to calm myself. That is my attitude, but it's all depends on the person to person. And I'm happy once again that for your presentation and Dr. Dinesh ji and good words of Ramkishan and all our directors, the drug control who has participated in this, and inspectors. We always to be aggressive. When I saw a news clipping of Telangana Drug Inspectors Association attacking the government, I was so happy and no stress at all. So that gives me a solace actually. So I recollected my earlier days as a regulator. So those kind of positive actions which will be helpful to the society and the unprivileged classes always gives you a peace. So that kind of it's a maintaining a corporate kind of a stress management is different from the stress what the people like me have.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well said, sir. I mean, it is on the individual perspective to manage their the stress. I mean, either to get the stress or to manage how to come out of the stress. And I totally agree with you. So expressing one's thoughts is a kind of a relief from this tremendous pressure in the mind. And I once again take the opportunity to thank Dr. Smarta for sparing his valuable time at these critical times. And thank you so much, sir, for sparing your time and for sharing your thoughts. And we really love to hear more and more from you in the near future for all our future programs. And it's been a long association with you for a couple of decades. And we really look forward to have a longer association in the future for the upliftment of our all colleagues of drug regulators. Thanks again, and thank you, Dr. Dinesh Duaji, and we are so glad to have your presence for the AIDCOC activities, and thank you so much for your continued support for all the programs, and we are so glad to have your presence in each and every, whether it is a technical or managerial or all other programs. We are so happy to have you with us, and we look forward to have a continued cooperation, sir.
And
thank you, Smarta ji.
Thank you, Lakshmi.
Thank you, Smarta ji. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Duaji. Thank you, all my colleagues.
Absolute pleasure.
Thank you. My pleasure.
I was so grateful.
Yeah, nice.
Bye. Have a nice day, all of you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Special thanks to Dr. Ramkishan, sir.
Thank you, Ramkishan ji. Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us at these critical times, and I wish you all a safe journey ahead. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Lakshmi, you can send me the complete presentation later on.
Sure.
Right. Thank you.
And the presentation and the video recording will be shared with all the audience.
Sure. Thank you.
So thanks, everyone, again, and wish you a great day.
Thank you, Lakshmi.